Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Love Yourself to Health podcast. My name is Alyssa, and I'll be here each week teaching you how to build a body that you genuinely love. As women, we have been taught so much misinformation about what our bodies should look like, how we should eat, and how we should work out. And I'm here to dispel all the myths and to teach you how to feel better, eat more without gaining weight, and to build a toned, lean, feminine physique, all without dieting, endless hours of cardio, or beating yourself up for getting off track. Here, we're all about treating our bodies with love and respect, and of course, having fun along the way. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. So today we have a special episode for you guys, and actually we will be for the rest of this week. So I know we had been talking about the Results Guaranteed Bootcamp, and you guys got to listen in to the bonus trainings, and we have since decided to actually upload the whole darn thing. So all of this week, all of the trainings from the bootcamp are going to be uploaded here onto the podcast as well. Now, if you do want to participate even more, if you want to get access to the worksheets, to the slideshow, to, some feedback from your coaches, myself, Alyssa, and Ariya, and if you want to be entered to win any of the prizes, then you will need to sign up for the bootcamp, and the link will be in the description below. You'll get a welcome email, you'll get an invitation to the Facebook group, and you'll be getting the emails every day that has links to all of the stuff you need to participate even more in the bootcamp. So for now, this is just the trainings for you, and if you want more, and if you want to be entered to win the prizes, then just click the link below and you can get in. So the prizes, I'll just quickly let you in on what those are. If you show up every day to the bootcamp, you will get a bonus module from each of the courses that we have in Transformation Academy. So you'll get one from the nutrition course, which is all about getting in tune with your hunger signals. You'll get one from the mindset course, which is how to set goals. And then you'll get one from the program design course, which is all about how to get the most out of your workouts. So you get that just for showing up every day to the bootcamp and posting your homework and filling in the worksheet and all of that good stuff. And we will be drawing that next Friday, so I believe the 25th of March. And then if you show up every day, you get that automatically. Plus, you'll be entered to win the grand prize, which is a coaching call with myself, Alyssa, a coaching call with Ariya, 2 weeks in Transformation Academy, and also access to Ariya's bonus mini mindset course. So that is what is going on in this bootcamp. You still have time to get in and take advantage of everything. But for now, have a listen, and I hope you enjoy. Welcome back to day 2 of the Results Guaranteed Bootcamp. Today, we are talking about limiting beliefs, which is a super interesting topic. Again, we're getting deep into your brain, so be prepared. Don't worry, it's all fun stuff. It is all super helpful and really, really makes a difference in the long run for, helping you reach your goals and whatnot. Because as we know, all that stuff comes down to what is going on in your brain. And without further ado, let's get into the training. So, all right, Ariya, you are our expert on all this stuff, so I'll let you get started.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how your current beliefs create your reality. Okay, here's a nice little quote I found. If you accept a limiting belief, then it will become the truth for you. So a personal truth that you've told yourself so many times that you've come to believe it as a fact. And oftentimes when we believe something to be true, it's hard to consider other perspectives. Okay, so we're just going to go over some basics of limiting beliefs. So a limiting belief kind of acts as a blinder that only really allows you to see things that confirm your current belief. So it really keeps you from seeing what is possible. These are old stories that are holding you back. Like an example of this is...
Like I always fail at everything I try.
Exactly. Yeah, that we actually talked about that in the PowerPoint. Thank you. So that's a story that you're going to continuously tell yourself, and that's going to reinforce all the thoughts, the feelings, the behaviors that are really associated with that. And oftentimes limiting beliefs are thought about in very black or white, all or nothing kind of terms.
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, our world doesn't function like that. There's lots of gray area, and limiting beliefs really don't allow us to see that gray area. Limiting beliefs also kind of act as a compass. So this is why sometimes people kind of feel powerless when it comes to their future, right? Because they feel like despite their best efforts, they always seem to have the same outcome. And that's because your beliefs determine your thoughts, your behaviors, and the intended or unintended results. And then moving on to core beliefs. Your core beliefs are generally formed in early childhood, and that happens as a result of us trying to make sense of something that happened to us. And your beliefs continue to evolve through your adulthood, but they really start forming in childhood. And that can be quite difficult for us to break those beliefs because your brain will just start to show you things that confirm that belief. And that's why a lot of times you're going to see more obstacles and challenges instead of opportunities, because those challenges confirm the initial belief. So any opportunities that might arise, your brain is just automatically going to push those away because that would disprove that belief of yours, and only showing you things that prove that belief. Okay, this slide just kind of shows some limiting beliefs that I know I've had. I know the one, I screw everything up. I definitely feel like that sometimes, or I'll never be successful, or all the good ones are taken, or that's just my luck, right? Like having that kind of language really confirms the internal beliefs that you have. So when you say something like that out loud, that really makes it real for you, right? So really being careful of the language that we use, the thoughts that we have, and whether or not that's really going to be helping us in reaching our goals. Okay, so this shame cycle. So I'm just going to go over this. This is a really good example for you to kind of understand how this all kind of cycles through and really reinforces each other. So example, we have a negative thought. I can't do this. And that leads to a negative feeling, which creates feelings of anxiety, fear, or shame. And those feelings then lead to a negative outcome, which then reinforces the initial thought. So that's how it's a cycle. You go from a negative thought to a negative feeling to a negative outcome, and that just reinforces the thought that had caused that cycle. The really interesting thing is, though, that about 85% of your negative thoughts never actually happen. So despite what you're thinking, the outcome can be entirely different if you decide to choose the thoughts for the desired outcome. And this is also why, like the shame cycle, which is why we often revert back to old behaviors, because we either haven't changed the thought or the feelings, right? So we're just trying to change the outcome all the time. We're trying to get a different outcome, but we never trace back what are those feelings that are happening and what are the thoughts that are creating those feelings, because they're all very intertwined. So if we're all about goal setting and really envisioning what your future is going to look like, and that's going to be your guiding light, you're never going to get there, right? You kind of have to back step a little bit and really take a mental note of where you are right now with your thoughts and your feelings. Because if you're never aware of those beliefs, they will continue to hold power over your life. And that's what makes limiting beliefs so toxic and so difficult to break sometimes, because it really requires that conscious piece that a lot of us just don't even know that that's required in goal setting.
Mm-hmm. I think another important point here is a little bit of neuroscience, just in the point, all thoughts in your head are just connections between your neurons, right? And the more often that pattern is repeated in your brain, the stronger it's going to get and the easier it's going to be for your brain to repeat that, right? Because it thinks it's important. So it's oh, this is something we've been thinking all the time. It must be important. So we need to make sure that it's super easy and fast. And a lot of times your negative thoughts and beliefs that have been around forever are going to be very natural and easy for your brain to keep going through over and over and over again. So that's why it's not your fault when you find it so easy to fall back into these negative thought patterns. But you can absolutely change them just by having, like, as you said, a conscious effort of, making sure you are creating newer thought patterns and practicing those so that your brain has another option, and so that this isn't your only option and what's happening all the time. You can add in other options. These will still be here, your negative thought patterns, but you can try to start incorporating other ones that are more positive, that are going to give you the results that you're actually looking for. It just does require, yes, some effort and some consciousness, instead of letting your body and your brain basically just run on autopilot, right?
Exactly. And like a little bit more with psychology, like we're more likely to remember something, an event, a fact, whatever it is, if it's associated with our senses. So specifically our sense of smell and emotions, right? So if you're really trying to change those negative thoughts, a really powerful way to do that is reflecting on the emotions, because that's going to make it more powerful, right? Because you think of how strong that feeling that comes up, that anxiety of you should have, or that judgment that comes up, like that's really powerful, right? That stops you from taking action. So if you approach it from there, that feeling part of the cycle, you can get better results out of it because of how powerful emotions are.
Interesting. So much interesting stuff when it comes to all of this.
Okay. So this is I recently read this in one of the books I'm reading right now. It's called Flipping, and it's flipping your limiting beliefs on their head. So this really illustrates how powerful limiting beliefs are. So a really good example that Alyssa had reminded me of before, of I always screw everything up. I am such a failure. Okay. That is a very powerful sentence right there. And that's alluding to the fact that you are able to so consistently create only one outcome with absolutely no variation, that all the time you absolutely screw everything up. It doesn't really sound right, right? So consider this. You would not be able to create the same outcome if you were truly powerless. So if you actually had no power in anything, do you think without variation that you would screw up every single time? Probably not. But if you had the power to create something bad, don't you think that you would also have the power to create something great? So just applying this logic, and sometimes using logic is a really good way to kind of get out of your head, because like I said, emotions really clutter that for you. So sometimes if you can just apply logic to it, it makes it a little bit more simple.
It's such an interesting way to think about that. Like, so if you have the power to make everything bad all the time, obviously you have some power and some control over what's going on, because you need to intentionally try if you are literally failing at everything, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't just happen.
And that's that black or white, all or nothing kind of thinking that comes along with limiting beliefs, right? Like they're these very big statements that you're either always failing or you're always succeeding. But sometimes there's middle ground, right? But when you have those beliefs, you don't even consider that middle ground or that gray area where you could possibly be at.
Yeah, they just take over your whole brain. They consume you with emotion, and then it basically just stops you from doing anything, because you're just so consumed in this thought and the emotion that it brings out for you that you're just like completely stuck. You can't do anything, but you don't have to stay there. We do have a solution.
Okay, so talking about slaying your limiting beliefs. Okay, so this is going to be an exercise that's in your homework. So I'm just kind of going over it also in the slides. So what beliefs are coming up for you when you think about your goal? So refer back to day one. Reflect on what your day one goal was. Now ask yourself some of these questions. Do you think it's possible to reach your goal? Do you think you're dreaming too big? Is it doable for other people to do it, but not you? Do you believe that you're doomed to live a mediocre life and that you'll always revert back to old behaviors? Well, if you have these limiting beliefs, it might be quite difficult for you to actually get to your goals. So this is when it's really important to start developing an awareness of the things that come up for you when you start to set goals for yourself or have milestones, because those beliefs will really stop you from achieving those things. Because if you look back at the cycle that we were talking about before, you're just going to keep repeating the same thing over and over again if you don't actually consider how the beliefs might be playing into that. And then next is to identify your emotions. So what emotions or feelings are coming up for you when you're reflecting back on your goal? So your emotions are super, super, super important in rewiring your beliefs and choosing new ones. Your emotions are highly influential and can weaken a limiting belief or strengthen beliefs that will empower you. So the next part is flipping your belief. So choose the belief that you believe has been stopping you from reaching your goals. So that would, like, a major one, like really reflect on that. If there's something that's constantly coming up for you, like one thing for me is that I never have enough time. I don't have enough time, energy, resources. And that's a belief that constantly comes up for me when I have a goal. So if there's one thing like that for you, choose that belief and then flip it on its head. So this is a fun exercise that you can kind of, that's in the actual homework, but it's kind of interesting to see like what would come up for you. And you also, when doing this exercise, pick a limiting belief that appears frequently with the most amount of intensity or emotion behind it. And then ask yourself, what is the opposite of that belief, of that limiting belief? So the opposite of that I never have enough time, energy, or resources is I have plenty of time. I can make more time, right? Like, it's not this thing that I have no power over. These are beliefs about my ability to reach my goal that have been stopping me from reaching my goal. So flipping those beliefs on the head is a really easy way to do that.
Yeah, I always find that so fascinating because pretty much all of the time your limiting beliefs are basically untrue. And if you ask yourself the opposite, like, is it actually true that I don't have any time? Like, is that actually the truth? Most of the time it's not. And it's just this silly little thing in your head telling you these things that are not necessarily true. And I think another thing to consider is when you're initially coming up with your goals, sometimes, depending on what mindset you're in, sometimes you don't have limiting beliefs coming up, and sometimes they come up in the process and after your motivation starts to die down. So, like, if you're trying to think about if there are any limiting beliefs coming up and you don't have a ton of them, or it's kind of blocking you in some way, you can always think back to when you've tried to work on goals before and why they may not have worked for you in the past. Is a lot of times it's probably because you've had some sort of limiting beliefs come up. And sometimes we can be really good at trying to keep these under the surface and really not acknowledge when we have, you know, limiting beliefs going on in our brain all of the time that we just kind of keep pushing down and keep ignoring and keep pretending they aren't there or they don't exist. And I think something to keep in mind is that these limiting beliefs can't hurt you, right? Feeling an emotion can't hurt you. It's just a feeling in your body, right? Like, what does anxiety feel like? A lot of times, okay, not anxiety disorder, but I mean, just like kind of general anxiety, or nervousness is like maybe a bit of tingling or tightness in your chest. Maybe your face gets hot. Maybe your hands get cold. Maybe you get, you know, a knot in your stomach, right? It's just a feeling in your body. Or sadness is just like a tightness in your throat. Maybe it feels like your stomach drops. Again, maybe you feel cold. All of these emotions, feelings are literally just a feeling in your body. So I think if you are coming to a place during this process and it's, you know, scary for you, or you're just really trying to push it away, just remember that your thoughts can't hurt you. Your feelings can't hurt you. You're in a safe place. You're totally fine. And it may bring up some emotions that you've been pushing down for a long time. So just allow yourself, the freedom, and just be gentle with yourself. And this stuff can be intense. So grab some tea.
Absolutely.
Just chill
And
out.
if you're not like at that place where you can start maybe getting to the root cause of your beliefs, like even start getting to your emotions, like what you said before, and identifying those emotions in yourself and what that feels like for yourself. And then learning or practicing to sit with that emotion without going to your default. Maybe for me, it would be just to lay in bed. Do you know what I mean? And try to sleep away that emotion. Yeah. So maybe just practice sitting with it and actually see how long it takes for that emotion to dissipate. Because like neurologically, it's only 60 seconds. We actually only experience that emotion for 60 seconds. So after that 60 seconds, you're actually choosing to continue to feel that emotion. So practice sitting in it. And that could be very powerful for someone, not having that emotion just take them, like overcome them, but knowing that they can ride through that emotion and feel good on the other side.
Yeah, like all of these things are just processes that our bodies have evolved over time, basically to keep us safe. But we are not cavemen anymore. We have completely gone past what we have, like we've just gone way faster than evolution can keep up with. So we still have all of these processes in our brains and in our bodies that aren't necessarily benefiting us in the technological world, right? We don't need to be scared of all these different emotions or whatnot, or being left behind by the tribe or anything like that, right? So we kind of need to, we're basically learning how to rewire our brain and take advantage of the way that our brain does work, and just kind of get out of default mode and more take control over our own lives. Like we do need to be putting in some effort here and being aware of what we have control over. And then again, just taking the actions to make that happen, and to know that you can change it and that you don't have to live on default or autopilot, that you can take control over what's going on in your brain and therefore what's happening in your life.
Exactly.
A lot of good stuff going on in here. And just take it where you are.
Yeah. Another good quote. Seeing things differently won't make your problems disappear, but it will have you seeing different solutions, opportunities, and possibilities. So we're going from limiting beliefs, and now we're trying to trek into empowering beliefs. So right now we're just kind of in that middle ground. So breaking those patterns. So we have personal beliefs. So these are stories that we cling tightly to, that really limit our ability to see past any truths or facts. So these are things that you've told yourself so many times, you compiled so much evidence that it just has to be true. And now you've been programmed, this belief has been programmed into your subconscious mind. So a lot of the times, which is why this work can be difficult, we don't even know that we have these beliefs because they're not even on the conscious level. Like, because they've been repeated so many times that they've just been wired in. But if you deliberately change your actions or thoughts, you can change the way that you're thinking. And this is called a neuroplastic response. So that's pretty cool, actually, that you have that ability to go back and rewire and redo and then have a different trajectory for the future. But what happens when you don't believe in your ability? Or you have these limiting beliefs? You'll either continue to take surface level action, which is what a lot of people end up doing in the health and wellness journey. They work out and they count their calories, right? That's very surface level. They don't start to dig any deeper. So that's why they see results, go back, see results, go back. Or they take no action at all because the thought is so debilitating and so scary to them that they stay where they are, or they repeat old behaviors again. So it really all like intertwines with one another. And a part of it is trying to break down those beliefs by looking for new evidence that disproves the old beliefs and can confirm a new belief for you.
The evidence is such a big part in it.
Yes,
Like
absolutely.
proving to yourself. You can prove negative or positive thoughts about yourself. It all depends on how you're looking at it and what you're taking as evidence.
Exactly. So we have a personal belief. So this is learned through personal experiences. So that can start at childhood and go all the way up into adulthood. So anything that confirms that. So let's say that you've tried a whole bunch of different diets, and obviously you think that you're the common denominator, so you're the problem, right? It's not the diet, you're the problem. And that's a belief that you start to take on about yourself and your like journey with like health and wellness. And then you have a universal belief. So these are commonly held beliefs about how the world works. So just because it's a universal belief does not mean it's true, right? So same thing, there's almost an echo chamber, like what you see on Instagram. People are repeating the same thing over and over again. And you just think that that's how health and wellness works because it's been repeated to you enough. And then you have facts. So this is something that is true for 100% of the people for 100% of the time. So this is really how you're going to start working towards breaking those limiting beliefs.
Ask yourself, is this actually a fact? Or is this just a belief? Oh, yes, okay. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. Perfect. Good segue. So you're going to be fact checking your limiting beliefs. So this is also going to be part of the worksheet. I'm just kind of going over in the slides so that you kind of have like a good idea about what we're asking for you to complete. So challenging your limiting beliefs using personal evidence and facts. So first you're going to identify your personal belief, which you've already done. And then you're going to reflect on your personal experiences that disprove the belief. So we're not going to look outward, we're going to look inward. So let's say, going back to the original example that I always screw things up, I'm such a failure, right? So if that's a belief that I have about myself, that I always screw things up, I can look back in my personal history and look for things or examples of times that I haven't screwed things up. It can be as simple as getting my driver's license or going back to school to get a diploma or whatever the case, getting that new job that I wanted, right? They can be things that you probably forgot because they didn't confirm the belief. So you oftentimes forget them, right? So this is a really good exercise also to celebrate your wins to celebrate your wins. So once we look for personal examples that disprove our personal belief, we're going to look for facts. We're going to look for hard facts that disprove that belief. So it obviously is impossible to screw absolutely everything up, right? That's impossible. There's no way. You're breathing. Obviously, you're doing something right? I know that's an overly simplistic example, but you can always find ways to disprove your beliefs. And it realistically, it should be quite easy because some of these beliefs are rooted in, like what Alyssa had said previously, in like an evolutionary kind of way where it's built to protect ourselves, right? We develop these beliefs to protect ourselves. These limiting beliefs have protected us up until this point. They've been serving us up until this point, but they're no longer serving us, and that's okay, right? So now we're going to look for facts to disprove that.
I had something to add, and now I can't remember what it was. We'll see if it comes back.
But yeah, that's the end of the PowerPoint slide.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like trying to go next. Yeah, I think it's so interesting to do this work and to just really get into what the heck your brain is thinking. And I think another thing to keep in mind is this stuff is so normal. We all have these limiting beliefs going on in our heads. I mean, they'll all be slightly different, but absolutely 100% we all deal with stuff like this. So I think because it's not talked about a lot and people don't necessarily talk about their limiting beliefs, a lot of the times it's just in our heads and we're not necessarily saying it out loud. A lot of the times we can feel like we are so alone in this and nobody else thinks like this. But that is not the case at all. Everybody has limiting beliefs that are going on in their head, and this kind of work can benefit literally anyone. We all have room to grow and improve and to change what's going on in our brains. And as everything with mindset and with health and wellness, it's all a continuous journey. Like you can work on this stuff forever and you can always continue to grow and improve and to change. There's never a like end time where you're like, okay, gotten rid of all of my limiting beliefs. My brain is perfect now. We're always thinking good things all the time. That doesn't happen. I mean, it's good to just have a realistic idea of how this works. It's basically just getting a little bit better every single day. And the goal is just to be better than you were a year ago, right? And you can always have something that you can work on.
Absolutely. Yeah, and a really good thing to kind of tie this all in together with day 1 and day 2 is when you do have a limiting belief that comes up for you, that's a really good opportunity for you to revisit your why. Because your why is so powerful that even in the face of a limiting belief, you can see through that. So that's why day 1 was so important in really establishing what your why is, because it's literally going to be important in every single day that we cover going forward, even with limiting beliefs. And another really important thing is please stop, and including myself, stop saying you're stuck, because by saying it like out loud, you are literally brainwashing yourself into believing that. Like language is so powerful. And if you can't keep saying, I feel so stuck, like I can't move forward, all these things, like it really changes your thoughts and your emotions and your motivation. Like if you're telling yourself that you're stuck and that's a belief that you have about yourself, you're probably not going to feel too motivated to take action.
Yeah. Yep. And I think another thing to keep in mind, like identifying your limiting beliefs and questioning them is a really great practice to do right now, but that is, it's not something that you stop doing. This is more just to give you some awareness as to what is going on in your brain. And then from here, you just want to notice whenever you're thinking these limiting beliefs. And as soon as you notice a limiting belief, you acknowledge that it's there and you want to question it. Then you want to ask yourself, is this actually true? Or is the opposite of this true? So you want to start getting into the practice of just noticing when those thoughts are going on in your brain. This worksheet and going through this will really help you get clear on what those thoughts are and where they're coming up. And then you want to just start in your day-to-day life, noticing when those thoughts are coming up, acknowledging them, and questioning, is this actually true or is the opposite true? And that's how you'll start making the real changes start to happen. Is there anything? Oh, right. I remembered the thing that I was thinking of before. So when we were talking about like trying to identify what's going on in your brain, and whenever we were talking about something, I was thinking it could be helpful to talk it out with someone else, like asking, is this true? Or like coming up with evidence. So your friends or family be like, do I have evidence to prove the opposite of this? Like, is this actually true? Like, am I actually failing all the time? Sometimes you might not be able to remember what you've done well. Sometimes it might take having a conversation with somebody else who can remind you, you did all of these amazing things. What are you talking about? Like, obviously you don't fail all the time. And you'll be like, oh, right. I totally forgot about that, you know?
Yeah. Well, because, your limiting belief will cover any other examples to the contrary, right? So it's so easy for you to just paint a brush over it, like a broad brush, and just be like, this is how it always is. But then you have a friend come in and be like, that's not how I see it. That's not my perspective of the situation at all, right? But you just like broad strokes over what a day would look like. You just count it off as a complete failure. And then someone else comes in and is like, oh, you showered and you brushed your teeth and you went to work. Like, I wouldn't call that a failure, right?
Yep.
So helping someone really broaden your perspective on stuff like that.
Yeah, perspective makes a very big difference. What you see is very different from what everyone else sees and what's actually the truth there. So I think we'll end it there for today. We got a lot of stuff covered in there, but basically just go through the worksheet, identify some of your limiting beliefs and what's going on in your brain, and then really question them and ask, is this actually the truth though? And start to, combat those beliefs that are coming up. Okay. Well, we will see you guys all tomorrow then. What are we talking about tomorrow?
We're talking about day 4 is confidence, and that's about action. And day 3, I think, is more speaking to like creating new beliefs that are going to work for you and your goals.
Okay.
Yeah.
We know what's going on. It's just the specific.
I just drew a blank.
That's okay. So we will see you guys tomorrow for really creating some new beliefs for yourself. Okay.
Perfect.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening in today. I'm so incredibly grateful that you took the time out of your day to listen and to support my podcast. If you're ready to feel the best you've ever felt, I would absolutely love to work with you. I have quite a few offers available, from nutrition audits to teaching you how to design your own workouts to group and private one-on-one coaching. Be sure to check out the link in the show notes or go to linktr.ee/alydaws. So that's linktr.ee/alydaws to see what I have available right now. I love chatting with you, so don't hesitate to email or reach out on Instagram if you have any questions whatsoever. Have an incredible week, my friend, and we will chat soon.